अस्सलाम जी, वेलकम टू सीज़न 2 एपिसोड 1 ऑफ स्टूडियो खुदी। इसके अंदर हम एक्सपर्ट्स जो कि पाकिस्तान से डेकेड्स बाहर रह के आए हुए हैं उनके साथ डिस्कशंस करते हैं ऐसे टॉपिक्स पे जो कि मेन स्ट्रीम मीडिया कवर नहीं करता। तो आज का टॉपिक हमारा बड़ा सिंपल सा है कि लॉजिक और फेथ इसका क्या कनेक्शन है। तो इस सिलसिले में हम एक ओपन डिस्कशन करेंगे और हम होप करते हैं कि ये जो डिस्कशन है इससे आप लोग मुस्तफ़ीद होंगे और आपकी भी जो सोच की बॉर्डर्स हैं वो एक्सपैंड करेंगे। तो साद, आपसे हम शुरू करते हैं। साद एक न्यूरो सर्जन है और ये यूके से रिटर्न पाकिस्तानी है। साहिल अदीम साहब का भी मैं आपको इंट्रोडक्शन करा दूँ। साहिल एक बहुत वेल नोन फ़िलासफ़र हैं और पब्लिक स्पीकर हैं। इन्होंने कॉर्पोरेट ट्रेनिंग्स की एक फ़र्म बनाई हुई है सोर्स कोड के नाम से, जो कि हज़ारों लोगों को ट्रेनिंग्स जो है वो दे चुके हैं। तो साद, हम आपसे शुरू करते हैं। मंतक यानी कि लॉजिक और इस्लाम।
शायद मैं अपने तौर पे ये समझता हूँ कि कोई लिमिटेशन नहीं है टुवर्ड्स अप्रोचिंग acquiring faith. It sounds very beautiful and idealistic to say that we should accept everything on the terms of how they appear, yeah, purely on without the need for evidence, basically. But I think in changing times and how our younger generation is changing and how the world is changing, I think we need an approach which augments your faith in any way possible. Whether that is working towards a logical approach, looking at the evidence, assessing it, historical significance of things, the existence of God and how you come to that conclusion. So you can have lots of different factors and approaches to help you build that faith. उसमें logic भी आता है, उसमें फिर evidential assessment of the source material भी आता है और इसमें ये सारी चीज़ें आ जाती हैं. Definitely there is an aspect of the unseen that you still have to get to and you still have to believe in that. But I think how you approach it is not hard and fast कि एक ही तरीका है और बाकी should be discounted.
नहीं, ये एक तरीका तो नहीं है, क्योंकि अगर ऐसा होता तो मज़हब एग्जिस्ट ना करते। चार जो मेन मज़हब हैं वो इसी वजह से हैं कि ऑब्वियसली एक ही काम करने के मल्टीपल तरीके मौजूद हैं। जी साहिल।
I really don't understand the problem statement you're trying to solve here with logic. What you're saying is कि चूँकि पाकिस्तान दुनिया में जो मुस्लिम यंगर जनरेशन है वो चूँकि logically tuned है, they get exposure to a lot of other mediums against Islam. So what you need is to build a logical base around Islam, or what are you trying to actually get?
I'm saying logic has a base in Islam.
So why would that be a source of contention on this table?
Because generally speaking, the opinion that you get, mainstream opinion is, I don't know, you can elaborate further on what you think about it. But what you get from people is कि ये बस मानना है, ठीक है? ये मानने वाली बात है, इससे बस आपने मानना है, आंखें बंद करके मानने। उससे हो क्या रहा है? What's happening because of it is कि आपकी जो younger generation है, which is open to lots of different mediums that are hitting them in one go, including the media, including anti-theism, including atheism, neo-atheism. So you have people sort of questioning their faith, and you don't have the right approach to counter it. In which आप किसी के पास चले जाएं, वो कहेंगे नहीं भाई ये ऐसे मानना होता है, ये लिखा हुआ है और ऐसे है. What I'm saying to that is कि an approach to counter it would be very logical and rational as well. जो अल्लाह ताला कहता भी है कुरान में बार बार कि for those who understand, for those who contemplate, for those who think. And it's so, I feel that Islam and Quran, in comparison to other religions, asks for a very rational approach and a very thought-provoking approach instead of a very blind following. Which in contrast,
I think it's on the contrary. Islam, out of all religion or philosophy, let's just say, sets its base on the belief rather than logic. I don't know why we don't dissect this word belief carefully. or more often, or often enough to actually build up a parenting model. See, whenever I see the young generation which is exposed to Dawkins and Hawkins and all of those philosophers who are trying to get an evidential approach towards believing in the deity, I actually start to question of where they were born. I mean, I can understand that if you're born a Judeo-Christian, under a Judeo-Christian culture or a household or influence of that philosophy. I know for a fact that Muslim households are deeply influenced by the Judeo-Christian flaws and, a lot of, miscarriage of the philosophy has happened. We have to accept that. Otherwise, there is no way that I can actually say that I can logically prove Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's existence. You know what I'm saying? You can only see the evidences that there is something that is that has done all of that. And that's what Allah Ta'ala is saying in the Quran. What do you think? You are the center of the universe? Why don't you look around you and see if you see anything manly or humanly at the base of creation? But has it ever convinced anybody? No. No, it hasn't. But what it has done is, see, we have to look at the whole 9 yards, the whole bigger spectrum, get all the light inside our camera. The race towards the truths, with whatever intent that they have, has been expedited by this word logic, even though this word logic has changed shape throughout the history of time. We can call out those people blatantly stupid, who were the most logical people of their times. Who used to think the earth is flat, who used to think the earth revolves around the sun revolves around the earth. We know that for a fact now, by whatever means that we got to know. So what I don't know where this arrogance comes from in all of the people who all of a sudden start to believe that they are, number one, the center of the universe. Whatever they've achieved is not to be contested because they've just outranked the people of the past. Now I understand that they have corrected a lot of things, but why are we actually so obtuse in thinking that 100 years from now every single theory of science will be disproven? Why can't we be open to this? So what I'm saying is, the very basis of this word logic, the construct of this word, has a very arrogant flavor in this. So, but since we're here, we're not in the future, let's talk about this right now. I understand that. I'm just trying to correct the philosophy and the psychology based on that philosophy. So number one, if we start to chase this logical tree, does it lead to anything that is going to make us see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Of course not. So the very basis of a belief is that how do you get to that point to say that we will not reach that logical conclusion? First of all, because the word ghaib in Islam is a very, very deeply embedded psychological construct. I'm not contesting that point. Yeah, I know you're not, but you're saying there's a lot of logic around it. What I'm saying is, why don't we have other means to achieve a goal? There's no specific... The goal of what? Seeing the unseen? The goal of achieving faith, which also includes the unseen. See, the word faith itself, you're a doctor. Perform a little bit of a surgery on this word faith. Yeah, but the condescension won't help it. What I'm saying is... No, I'm not being condescending. And what I'm saying is, open up this little nucleus of faith. You'll find there is no evidence in faith. That's why we call it faith. No, but what I'm saying is, for you to take that stance, let's say, you need to establish where and how you say that it is forbidden to use this approach. In the basis of philosophy, I'll tell you. It's a very good question. Sorry. The very basis of philosophy of Islam, through this word ghaib, is that if you actually get to see Allah, then there is no point of doing any good. That's the very basis of our philosophy. But we're actually pushing our younger lot to find all the traces of Allah and try and get to see Him. Then there's no faith in there. You know what that is? There's evidence. There's no faith. Faith requires no evidence. It has no eyes. Evidence points you towards a certain direction, towards achieving I'm not denying that. What I'm saying is, let's not ride the high horse of logic and try and see or make up an illusion of an end in mind which is not going to be there. If there was ever
What end do you mean?
to look at the very sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Nobody's saying that.
What else do you think is the big war going on around us?
What I'm saying is that
The very basis of atheism is the handicap of the believers of not putting Allah on the table. You know what I'm saying? We won't be able to do that. And thank God we're not going to be able to do that. That's the only religion that we follow which says if we were to show ourselves, we would have shown ourselves to the Prophet ﷺ when he went upstairs in the Maharaj. And at that time, he did not reveal himself unto the Prophet ﷺ. So what? See, this is the very basis of our philosophy. You're not going to be able to put any sort of picture in front of Allah.
so maybe we're
in front of the atheists.
maybe we're talking in two different tangents here.
Really, I think we are on the same page here.
Really?
What you're trying to achieve is an objective, which I think is not going to be able to be achieved through the means
I
of
don't mean
logic.
that 100% of it will be achieved through just purely one mean. What I'm saying is that you may have to use certain means to augment that and to reach
To the
that
believers.
objective.
Yeah, for the
To
believers.
believers or disbelievers alike.
But no, see, that's the problem here. A disbeliever, if he's requiring evidence, is going to stop at a certain point. He's going to say, you know, all you're showing me is science.
What I'm not saying there should be only one approach. That if you
Okay, let me use the word logic.
let me finish this now. So I'm not saying that you just put forth evidence to a person in the hopes for them to achieve a miraculous faith all of a sudden that arises in them.
It does.
But that is
Not through logic, though.
one aspect and one facet of that approach. Let's say there are 5
Yeah, I gave you that
approaches
passage.
that you're-
I'm putting on the table.
So
there is
why
logic in Islam. You know what that logic is?
Yeah.
That you cannot see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's a very logical psychological construct. It's a very logical article of our philosophy. That if you get to see Him, then there's no point of doing any good.
अच्छा इस पॉइंट
No,
में
but
मैं
we're not talking about seeing God.
So what else is the purpose of
देखिए
logic?
जो जुडियो
Let's say,
जो जुडियो क्रिश्चियन कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ गॉड है ना वो बड़ा ख़राब है अगर आप उसे इस्लाम के साथ कंपेयर करें ना.
Well, let's just split Judeo and Christian because दोनों का अलग ही construct है.
बिल्कुल. तो आप फॉर एग्जांपल ईसाई जो हैं उनके साथ लोग कहते हैं कि मतलब जो उनकी ट्रिनिटी है फादर सन एंड होली स्पिरिट, ठीक है. तो फादर जो है ना वो वाला अल्लाह है जो जिसकी हम बात कर रहे हैं. हालांकि सूरह इखलास जो है उसके ज़रिए से अगर आप देखें तो वो हो ही नहीं सकता हमारा रब जिसका बेटा हो. अच्छा प्लस क्रिश्चियंस की ना मुझे खुद बड़े अरसे तक जो था ना वो कन्फ्यूजन थी. मैं अब रह के उनके अंदर आया हूँ तकरीबन 6 साल. वहाँ पर जो फ्रांस का जो क्रिश्चियन कल्चर है, यूरोप का, इटली का, स्पेन का, वो ये सारा मैंने देखा, अल्लाह का शुक्र है. तो उसके अंदर ना उनके ख्याल में अल्लाह जो है ना वो एक बंदा है, बाबा है, बूढ़ा सा, लंबी सी सफ़ेद दाढ़ी है उसकी, वो हेवन में फिर रहा है, ठीक है. तो वो अब हमारा जो अल्लाह का कॉन्सेप्ट है ना उसके साथ कभी मैच नहीं कर सकता. एनीथिंग दैट यू थिंक इज़ गॉड इज़ नॉट गॉड. हमारा जो है ना वो एक एब्स्ट्रैक्ट कॉन्सेप्ट है, वो कॉन्सेप्ट कभी हम अंडरस्टैंड नहीं कर सकते. साहिल की बात से मैं बिल्कुल एग्री करता हूँ उसमें. तो उनका जो मलबा है ना वो बेसिकली मुसलमानों का, क्योंकि हम उनके सबसर्विएंट रह चुके हैं बड़े अरसे. उन्होंने हमारे ऊपर हुकूमत की है तकरीबन 100-150 साल पूरी दुनिया के अंदर. तो हमारा कॉन्सेप्ट ख़राब हुआ है. अब फॉर एग्जांपल वहाँ के जो एथियस्ट हैं उनका एक बड़ा कॉमन क्वेश्चन होता था कि कैन गॉड क्रिएट अ रॉक दैट ही कैन नॉट लिफ्ट.
Logical fallacy. Yeah.
ठीक है. या फिर व्हाट्स रॉन्ग विद फॉलोइंग द स्पेगेटी मॉन्स्टर, फ्लाइंग स्पेगेटी मॉन्स्टर. एक उन्होंने एब्स्ट्रैक्ट कॉन्सेप्ट बनाया कि अगर तुम्हारा जूस है या तुम्हारा क्रिश्चियन है या इस तरह से कुछ गॉड्स हैं तो व्हाई नॉट अ फ्लाइंग स्पेगेटी मॉन्स्टर. तो ये चीज़ मैं क्लियर करना चाह रहा था कि हमारा जो अल्लाह का कॉन्सेप्ट है और जो ईसाइयों का है या यहूदियों का है वो बड़ा डिफरेंट है. क्लोजेस्ट तरीन उसका जो होगा ना वो यहूदियों के साथ हमारा मैच करेगा, मोनोथीइज्म के साथ. जी.
Achha, let me ask you a question. Maybe I'm not understanding you well enough. Let's say आपके कुरान में आयत आती है about the embryological development of a human being. And let's say as a doctor, as someone else, let's say a scientist or an embryologist actually reads that and says this is very close to what actually happens. और ये 1400 साल पहले हमें पता नहीं चल सकता था. तो would you say that approach is totally bad? towards achieving? Because in essence, that would take you a step further towards achieving that faith.
A very small step, though.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just giving you one example, right?
No, what I'm saying is that was such a logical, it is logical, but it was such an appealing concept
It is
towards
an evidential basis
evidence
as well.
of something, right? Evidence of some creator.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be a Christian creator.
Yeah, but the evidence is taken directly from the Quran. That's what I mean.
What I'm saying is it could be, see what I'm saying? Let's just get the basis right. What are we trying to achieve by showing them the ayahs of embryology? What are we trying to achieve?
What we're trying to achieve is to show them the evidence. Let's say, even if you don't want to show them the evidence.
Let's show
let's
them
say I'm
the
talking
evidence.
about myself.
If Allah's showing
Let's
us
say I'm talking about myself. Forget the other person. Forget the disbeliever that we don't want to bring in.
Well, then that's the point, because believers, I agree with you.
Yeah, but
for all the believers,
strengthening of faith takes
there's
all kinds of
no-
means.
I'm totally in agreement with you when it comes down to showing evidences to the believers to augment their faith.
But you're against showing it to the disbelievers.
What I'm saying is that the disbelievers don't require signs. See, a Hindu can show me all the signs of why Rama is such a big Bhagwan. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to give my belief put my belief on the table. Yeah, you know what? You convinced me. Unless I am thoroughly convinced as to where the start, end, cause, and effect of all of this process which Hinduism believes in.
So, for
Right.
example, let's say you take the Bible, right? And you consider how the early manuscripts that were discovered aren't actually in the Bible. And in comparison, you take the Quran and you take the first century Quran and you compare it to the one now, 1400 years later, you won't find any differences in it, right? So would you not like to use that as an evidential basis for something that is pure?
For what? For whom?
For any person. This is for all of mankind.
See,
It's not for
what I'm saying.
believers
What you're
and
forgetting
disbelievers
is
and all.
all of these evidences have been presented to all of the non-believers for the last century and a half.
You don't think it has mattered in any sense to any one person?
Well, not significantly.
How do you say that? What's your basis for?
Well, look at your evidence of who converts towards this belief.
Yeah, so why do you say that it's purely anti-evidential basis?
What I'm saying, no, I'm not saying it's anti-evidential. I'm saying it's not significant enough.
How do you decide it's significant or not
Because
significant?
we
Even if
see-
it affects one person, how's that insignificant?
What I'm saying is, on the basis of your argument, it is not such an effective way of preaching. Why? Because for 1400 years, we haven't really had much success through logic and evidence.
Maybe that's why we need to change that.
We have been actually doing that. What I'm saying is, it's not going to work till the day of Qiyamah.
So why? I think that's a very arrogant stance, though. To say
No,
that
but
it's
I'm-
not going to help.
It's not
going
arrogant.
to work.
I'm going to give you
Why?
evidence
Yeah,
for it.
Yeah, sure.
The belief is not standing on the platform of logic.
Yeah.
And it is only the decree of our God, subhanahu wa ta'ala, who actually shifts the heart. You understand me now? Otherwise, Abu Talib would have been a
totally
Muslim.
get you, but what I'm saying is, why are those two things exclusive? Why can't they be?
That's exactly. Now
You
we're
get
at
what
the
I'm
same
saying,
page.
right?
Yes, I am saying
That's
it's
exactly
exclusive.
what I started with. Why are you saying they're exclusive, though?
Because it is.
How Allah Ta'ala establishes Iman in someone's heart is sort of outside of
That's
my
a
and
very
your
well
domain.
put argument. You know
how
what
do
you
we get
have to actually. You know what you convinced me just enough that we should be using logic as a primary weapon. But no, we can't, because the closer he's going to come towards Islam, the more he's going to realize that by the end of the day, we are not going to give him any evidence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We actually believe that he cannot be seen. Or not just Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of the articles of our faith, angels, they're there, we can't see them. Angels. The books, amantu billahi wa kutubi, all of our articles of our faith are ghaib, are invisible. First, the belief of Allah, invisible. Malaikati, invisible. No evidence. I'm sorry. We cannot give evidence of something which is never going to show itself. It's just, you know what I'm saying? My father, who died in 2001, comes and visits me every night. Now, a lot of cameras are installed in my room. Everybody comes to see, you know what, this guy is a little too loud on his claim. And then the cameras, you know what the cameras are going to see? Me talking in the air. And then I'm talking to my father. And the camera's going to be like, you know what? You're lying to us because we saw you talking in the air. Like, I can see him.
Okay, so
You know what I'm saying? This is what I'm trying to say. By the end of the day, all of the signs of Allah are going to lead you to this room where I'm talking to my Father, who only I can see.
you've hit the right word. All the signs of Allah. Now, why would Allah Ta'ala ask you to contemplate over the signs of Allah Ta'ala in nature and in the
And that's
world
why I
that is
said
there?
I am for presenting all of whatever we
but
can.
if it was pointless and if we don't need any
You're
evidence towards
underestimating
it, so why would we need it?
You're underestimating the inferno, the fire which burns in the disbelievers and the atheists. You think they cannot hear us when we're talking about the signs and evidences?
So
They
what-
can. They want more.
So amongst, let's say, millions of converts to Islam, let's say over the last decade, you think none of them have approached it
It's a
through
wrong figure. It's not millions of converts through in the last decade.
as
sorry.
you're saying something is significant or insignificant in the same way.
This
I'm
is
sort
not
of-
even the right number.
It's just a number to get the point across.
Okay, you know what?
So-
Let's carry on this argument. How do people convert? Take a sample. We'll find
my
out. The
point.
people will
How-
convert through logic.
Yeah, exactly. So how are you so certain that it is insignificant?
Because seldom.
How do you get to that point to say
Because we've
that?
seen all of those converts.
So
Look at
as
all
you're
of those
saying, there aren't
testimonies.
millions of converts. You'd have to have that statistical data on those millions.
You're right. I don't have the accurate data
Yeah.
of all the converts in the world, let alone a decade. I don't even have it for
So-
last year. So what I'm saying is,
okay. So let's look at it this another way. So when Allah Ta'ala says, okay, look at the evidences. Okay, let's not say evidences, but the signs of Allah Ta'ala.
yeah. You know what? That's a
nature,
good
in the
point. He
world.
never used the word evidence, did it?
It's ayah, right? Which is
Evidence,
used-
yeah. It's a sign.
not
Ayah is a
yeah,
sign,
exactly.
yeah. It's a
So
symbol.
why would you do that?
To a non-believer, it's a
Well,
amazing
either way,
question.
both
Amazing
believer
question.
or non-believer.
And
Because
for a
I-
believer,
because
for a believer,
where I stand
to
is
strengthen his faith. For a believer, for a
where I
non-believer,
come from, where I look at it is that believer or disbeliever is the same message across.
Okay,
Because
let
it's
me-
all of,
let me give you
for all
straight
of
answer on
mankind,
this.
right? Yeah.
they were at such a low level. They are mostly at such a low level. You know, these idol worshippers, which are still there, at such a low level of intellect that you have to show them just signs. You know, that's enough. But if there is a higher level of an intellect who wants to be convinced by knowing where is the first particle, who created the first particle, where did the Big Bang, how did the Big Bang actually start, or what was the agency behind the whole process. And that's not your idol worshipper sitting idle thinking, you know, this little piece of stone is jumping up in the air, going somewhere, trying to get my wish fulfilled, right? That's the guy who wants proof. And we are the people who are not of the proof, we are of the belief. Belief is anti-proof. You know what I'm saying? But you're actually, I'm doubting you, I'm not doubting your intent. What I'm saying is you are actually overestimating their intent and underestimating the evil which sits in the heart of atheism. And I'm purposely choosing the word evil because it's not a science word. You know what I'm saying? There is a misconception in all of the Muslim Ummah right now that if you show them the signs, they're going to come into the religion and the system of belief. They're not going to do that. All of the people who were Sahabas, okay, early converts, you think any one of them converted because they saw a sign? They saw all of those signs all their lives. They kept fighting with the Prophet.
What is the purpose then of looking at the signs for those who
I
understand?
just told you,
when they
strengthening the
understand?
belief of the Muslims.
So it has
And-
no link. So if you
No, it is. It is at
for
a
a
very
disbeliever, it
at a
has no
lower
link.
level to actually start to think, so that they can become thinkers. That's it.
So why? How do you establish the lower and higher level in this?
Well,
what
you can see
basis
that.
is there?
Are you kidding me? Can you see not see in Pakistan?
but that's not-
and in the
that-
world.
that's
you
not-
see levels of. There's a big hierarchy of thought, big hierarchy of intellect. Oh, it is very evident. I'm sorry.
So you're saying that if someone comes to Islam, let's say, based on these signs and these evidences, let's say you have.
I'll be like, hoorah, man, alhamdulillah. This is awesome.
So then, what's the issue with it?
The guy is an exception. He's a very rare commodity inside the big hierarchy of, intellect. You know what I'm saying? People can't be convinced into a religion. Hell, even atheism cannot be. You cannot be converted into atheism by just being convinced.
I think if you're being intellectually honest with yourself, if there's an atheist who's intellectually honest, let's say.
Why the hell is he an atheist? Intellectually.
Because you have people who go in all sorts of directions.
I
As you're
take that
saying,
back.
to
I take
achieve-
that back. I was just, I don't know why I said that. I'm sorry. I'm sure there are a lot of intellectually honest people in atheism who are just not
Well,
getting.
it could be. I mean,
enough.
neo-atheism is another story, right? Because that is very
You know why I'm so hopeless
anti-theism.
about the atheists? By the end of the day, they've reached, because of this exposure of information and all of that stuff, which is just goo, okay, from Darwin to Hawkins. They've reached at such a level that if I showed them science of embryology and, you know, the lack of contradiction in the first manuscript is the one which was published today, and all of the other science, they're not going to buy into it. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You're actually underestimating the depth at which they
I'm just saying you need to give some benefit of doubt to whoever is approaching it,
I'm
because it's an
all
empty
positive.
slate. You don't know how you
It's
may
not
be able
that
to
empty. We
affect
see a
them.
lot of embossed and encroached line in that slate through people who have actually made sure that even after looking at all of the things, they blatantly refused because of a lot of things which are, for example, let me just give you okay, let me tell you the landscape. I think just 30 seconds. The biggest atheists come from the people who were actually raised up in the most, I don't want to use bullshit, but I want to see the most confused Judeo-Christian philosophy. I would have been an atheist if I was raised. Any thinker would have been an atheist. This is what you're trying to teach me as religion? I'm so sorry, this is not going to work. Any Jew and any Christian who reads the current version of the Bible, I'm so sorry, an eighth grader should be arguing with those guys against Judeo-Christian philosophy. I'm not talking about atheism. For atheism, I don't really blame them, number one, because, I mean, what option did they have? The other option was Islam, which was blatantly, assassinated at the core that these guys are just, terrorists, and all of their main goal is to actually, because they were actually going towards the left, and Islam is far right, even farther than any Judeo-Christian philosopher can take it. So they can't just take such a big leap towards that much of a, that far towards the right. So I can understand that, these guys are not going to come into Islam. However, Allah's decree, after 9/11, people went way more into Islam than before 9/11. You know what I'm saying? Because people started to think.
Okay, so we have to wrap this up here. Any closing remarks from both of you guys?
Okay, so just to end it off in answer to what you're saying, from what I think about it, again, it could be absolutely wrong. I'm not in the delusion that what I'm saying is 100% correct, or for that matter, absolutely valid. But as a viewpoint, I think it needs to be considered. As a Jew or a Christian who's coming from that mold of believing everything that's said to you, whether that makes sense or not, to assessing another religion which quite wants you to do the opposite, or actually wants you to keep an open mind towards it and assess it on the basis of there is going to be no contradiction in the Quran. It is from Allah Ta'ala. It came down 1400 years ago, and it is going to be uniformly correct. In that sense, if someone wants to assess it, what other mold would you ask them to look at it? If I throw the same mold that they're already coming from, you need to blindly follow this. There's no evidence that's required for you to look at. There's no science that you need to look into either for you to achieve the faith. I'm not saying 100% of the faith will be achieved through that means, but that should be and can be used as one of the approaches.
Yeah, but meager one at best.
I don't understand why meager.
I thought it was a closing statement.
Sorry, carry on.
What I'm saying is, once I'm not against being logical towards any sort of conversation. What I'm against is that if you use the word belief and put logic in the same platter, you're going to confuse the hell out of anybody. Because belief itself is not hungry for any logic. If anything, logic is going to weaken the belief. But that's a very, very bold statement right now. Okay. What I'm trying to say is, let me tell you what this should be my closing remark, just to shorten it out, just to edit it later on. If a philosophy believes in the unseen and has been completed and capped. This box is closed now. So we know and we believe actually, through a very logical way, we believe that this box is not to be opened. Quran has been completed, Deen has been completed. Now, there's only one thing that can come out as a conclusion, that Allah is not going to show Himself. Okay? So if our God is not going to show Himself to any human being or anything, then we can't just go towards that way. What you're saying is go halfway. I know they're going to come the rest of the 6 yards or 3 yards for that matter. What I'm saying is, yes, you can try and use as much evidence and logic as possible, but that's just going to get them directed towards it. It's not going to make them travel towards it. And even if it does, it's not much of a journey you're looking into. You're assuming a little too much positivity into this. And I am not trying to be negative here. What I'm saying is, I'm using a very logical argument towards a belief. That if a belief is that you are going to believe in ghaib, the unseen, the invisible of all of your things, Allah, the angels, the wahi, which is kutub, the books which are from God, it's just an unseen concept, right? Because nobody saw, and jinnat, and the predestination of good and evil, all of that is unseen. We believe in the unseen. So we can't just say, you know what, by the end of the day, everything is logical except the final node, which is the only basis of you coming into a religion, which is saying that La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah, because by the end of the day, it's going to be like, dude, I saw you talking this thin air. I didn't see your father. You know what I'm saying? And I had all the cameras which are going to give me evidence for it.
Okay, we'll have to end it over here. I hope that you enjoyed this discussion. I had a lot of fun listening to it. In the end, you have to make up your own mind, because faith is something that's deeply personal. And thank you to our guests, Dr. SAAD Shafiq and SAHIL Adeem.
And
Inshallah,
most
we will
times
see.
illogical.
Inshallah, we will see you next week with
Inshallah.
season 2, episode 2.
Inshallah.
Take care. Allah Hafiz.